I have a theory that most people don't get hooked on wrestling because they saw a 5-star match. They get hooked because the right storyline hit them at the right time, and they have to see it through to the conclusion. Will Cody finish the story and win the belt that his father didn't deserve because he won a match by countout? Will the super cool NWO finally put the cheesy WCW out of its misery? Will Randy Savage finally avenge his wife for the way Hulk Hogan looked at her with lust in his eyes? Okay, maybe I don't get the right message from all of these angles. But you get what I'm talking about. Nothing in wrestling hits quite like an interesting angle taken to a satisfying conclusion, which is why it's so jarring when something catches our attention and then just vanishes. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling. Let's take a look at 7 big storylines that WWE never finished. Now, before we get into that, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leg drop that notification bell. Also, we've got merch. Show the world that you're a part of the Brotherhood, even if you're a sister, with some of our snazzy apparel, stickers, and other business. Number 1. Boxed out. Once the presumptive heir to the WWE throne, Shane McMahon had all the makings of a next-generation mogul: charisma, guts, and a deeply ingrained understanding of the family business. But behind the scenes, the McMahon Empire isn't just run like a wrestling company, it is a wrestling company, complete with backstage drama, power struggles, and jaw-dropping swerves. Somewhere along the way, Shane's vision for the future of the WWE clashed with Vince's autocratic grip. And while exact details have always been murky, the general understanding is that Shane felt boxed out of the decision-making power. So, in 2009, he left the WWE entirely, walking away from the company he was once expected to lead. Then came the pop heard round the world. After 7 years of radio silence, no backstage role, no storyline teases, no cameos, Shane McMahon made a thunderous return on the February 22nd, 2016 episode of Monday Night Raw, interrupting his father as he was presenting Stephanie with the Vincent James McMahon Legacy of Excellence Award in a moment that genuinely shocked fans and even some wrestlers. The storyline? Shane claimed that he left because Vince was running the company into the ground. Art imitating life. And Vince wanted the key to Shane's lockbox that seemed to hold something incriminating. Of course, knowing what we know now, there are a variety of things that Vince could be incriminated for. Vince offered Shane a match at WrestleMania 32 against The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell, and if Shane won, he'd gain control of Raw, and if The Undertaker won, Vince would regain control over the mysterious lockbox. Just like that, the family feud turned into one of the most bizarre corporate custody battles in wrestling history. The Undertaker, of course, won, and Shane was put in charge of Raw for a bit anyways because, hey, stipulations be damned. But much like the awesome 1995 thriller Seven, we were left like Brad Pitt screaming, "What's in the box?" And the disappointing answer was, nothing specific. It was all a MacGuffin. Now, a MacGuffin is a plot device in storytelling, often an object, goal, like a piece of information that drives the character's actions, but is often of little actual intrinsic importance to the audience. The MacGuffin serves primarily as a catalyst to move the story forward, rather than deeply explore it itself. Classic examples of this are, the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the One Ring in The Lord of the Rings. And what's weirder is, apparently, this whole lockbox MacGuffin was something Vince spit out on the fly, so Shane and Stephanie had no idea what he was talking about. Well, what would have been better than nothing? Probably literally anything. Let us know what should have been in the lockbox in the comment section, and keep it clean, you degenerates. Number 2. Who blew up Vince? In 1980, Dallas pulled off what may be the greatest cliffhanger in TV history with the now legendary Who Shot JR storyline. J.R. Ewing, the show's slick, smug oil tycoon everyone loved to hate, was gunned down in the season finale, setting off a media frenzy unlike anything TV had ever seen before. For 8 agonizing months, viewers speculated wildly. Was it his scorned wife, a rival, a random Texan with good aim and bad luck? The mystery dominated headlines, late-night jokes, and water cooler conversations worldwide, culminating in a record-breaking reveal watched by over 90 million Americans. It proved that serialized drama could hook a nation, and it basically invented the modern season-ending cliffhanger that every show shamelessly copies to this day. And on the June 11th, 2007 episode of Monday Night Raw, the WWE tried to take a page from the old Dallas handbook by booking an over-the-top exit only Vince McMahon would script for himself by blowing himself up in a limousine. As the episode came to a close, the chairman would solemnly walk through a crowd of confused wrestlers, including Paul London, who was weirdly smiling. And quick aside, it's often inaccurately reported that the smile led to London getting fired, but he was with the company for another year and a half. Now Vince would climb into a stretch limo, shut the door, and ba-bow! The car erupted into a fiery explosion straight out of a Michael Bay fever dream. For 1 week, WWE tried to sell the idea that Vince McMahon had died in a car bombing. Broadcast even ended without commentary, playing it completely straight, as if a billionaire had just been blown to smithereens on live TV and nobody should question it. But some people bought it, or sold it I guess, as the WWE stock took a sharp drop immediately afterwards, and Triple H would say that even Donald Trump called them up to make sure that McMahon was okay. The plan? Well, on PW Torch, former WWE creative team member Chris DeJoseph would say, "I think it was going to be a scramble for power in the company. That was really the idea behind it. Now that he was gone, everyone was fighting for power, and everybody had different motives." Other theories have elaborated on this, saying that there would be an eventual shocking reveal that Vince had faked his own death with the help of his illegitimate son, Mr. Ken Kennedy, all leading up to a match for control of the company against Triple H at WrestleMania. There's even talk of having Vince's real-life brother Rob come into the company during Vince's funeral and be a part of the battle for ownership of the company. However, real-world tragedy struck. WWE superstar Chris Benoit was involved in a horrific double murder-suicide that rocked the wrestling world. WWE immediately scrapped the whole limo angle, understandably, and Vince McMahon reappeared on TV immediately to break kayfabe and address the Benoit tragedy directly. Number 3. Mo Money, No Ratings. Back in 2008, the WWE found itself facing declining viewership numbers, so Vince came up with a simple, foolproof plan: just give away $1 million on live TV. What could possibly go wrong? Each week, Vince would appear on Raw with a giant briefcase of cash and dial random fans who had registered online, giving away varying amounts from $2,000 to $250,000 if they were able to repeat the phrase that pays. Whole thing felt more like a chaotic telethon than a wrestling show, with Vince trying to act personable while desperately asking, "Can you hear me?" when calls would fail. And fail they did, repeatedly. The technical glitches became a running joke, with Vince either dialing the wrong numbers, struggling to hear the winners, or accidentally hanging up. He was even rickrolled at one point. Good times. One unlucky winner even missed out because Vince thought they said the wrong password. Now, rather than creating buzz, the segments were awkward and uncomfortable, with McMahon visibly annoyed when things went awry, which they did frequently. Worse than that, it was boring, like really, really boring. Plus, fans started to sour on the whole gimmick, realizing that instead of storylines or matches, they were watching an old man fumble through some awkward phone calls. The grand punchline to the whole fiasco is that rating numbers went down during these episodes, so rather than continue this expensive way to piss off the audience, they figured they needed a big reason to stop it. And in a desperate bid to wrap this mess up, the WWE staged a storyline where Vince was injured when part of the Raw set collapsed on him. First, a light fell from the scaffolding, fireworks emerged from the podium, the whole stage collapsed, and then a giant screen would crush the WWE chairman. As medical staff rushed to his aid, McMahon dramatically exclaimed that he couldn't feel his legs. Now, it was supposed to be revealed that Ken Kennedy and McMahon had staged the whole incident as a way to get control of the company away from Stephanie and Triple H. This would have all led to a match against Triple H, WrestleMania. I'm fucking with you. There was no plan whatsoever. It was just a way to get people to move on from the disastrous giveaway. They never mentioned the chairman of the company getting squished during live TV ever again. Number 4, some bunny special. Yes, Adam Rose and the Rosebuds, a walking, dancing, glow-stick-waving acid trip that somehow got televised every week. When Adam Rose debuted on the WWE's main roster in 2014, he brought with him a conga line of assorted misfits known as the Rosebuds. They were essentially local wrestlers, developmental talent, and occasionally future stars. Hello, Becky Lynch. Oh, hey, Alexa Bliss. All dressed up like they just escaped from a Cirque du Soleil audition. The gimmick was supposed to be fun-loving and party-centric, like if Russell Brand had gone through NXT. I mean, this is back when we didn't know Russell Brand was a piece of garbage. This was back when we just assumed he was. But despite WWE's best effort to get the "don't be a lemon, be a rosebud" catchphrase over, the act never really clicked beyond its weird novelty. Didn't help that behind the glitter and rave music, Adam Rose was given next to no character development. And feuding with a dude in a bunny costume certainly didn't help matters. Yes, a full-grown person in a fuzzy rabbit costume was not only part of the WWE's weekly programming, but eventually became a featured character in actual storylines. The bunny didn't just, hop around ringside like a furry little hype man. No. This oversized sidekick got physical. He wrestled matches, took bumps, and even developed tension with Adam Rose himself. Real kicker, the bunny appeared on WWE pay-per-views like Survivor Series 2014. Here's the friggin' bunny in the ring with the biggest babyface in the company today. Wrestling's weird. What made it all so mind-melting wasn't just the gimmick's ridiculousness, it was WWE's absolute commitment to it. The bunny got involved in feuds, had teased a rivalry with Rose, and then nothing. No bunny for quite some time. That is up until the November 4th, 2015 episode of Main Event. A whole year later, Rose would come out and renounce his previous partying lifestyle. Afterwards, during his match with Fandango, the bunny would return wearing all black with a creepy look on his face. This distraction allowed Rose to pick up the win. Then nothing again. Rose was on the show the next week, and the bunny was not even mentioned. And it all led nowhere. Originally, the bunny was supposed to be part of a big reveal. Rumors swirled that it could be a developmental talent like Justin Gabriel, which it was at one point, or someone returning with a surprise gimmick shift, but as often happens in WWE's weekly creative chaos, interest faded, focus shift, and the bunny became another casualty of let's just move on. Gabriel reportedly got frustrated with the lack of direction and eventually asked for his release, which also quietly killed whatever momentum the bunny may have had. But hey, at least we got a bunny action figure out of it. A bunny action figure. Number 5. Who could it G now? In 1999, the WWE began airing a series of grainy, black and white surveillance-styles videos under the name GTV, which interrupted regular programming to show hidden camera footage of backstage segments. These clips often caught WWE superstars in embarrassing, controversial, or comedic moments, like Val Venus making fun of the Big Show's equipment, Meat was busted cheating on Terry Runnels, and even Ben Stiller was talking about how much he appreciated Deborah's puppies. Yes, really. The G in GTV was widely believed to stand for Goldust, but the GTV angle faced hurdles right from the start, largely due to resistance from the USA Network, which was strongly opposed to the idea of bringing back Goldust. Initially dubbed GDTV, a not-so-subtle nod to Goldust himself, the name was eventually shortened to GTV, likely to distance itself from Dustin Rhodes as backstage tensions grew. The situation got even messier when Rhodes left the WWE and signed with WCW, leaving the entire premise without its intended central figure. Now, rather than scrapping the concept altogether, WWE writers Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara decided to keep the GTV segments going despite having no clear direction or payoff in mind. At one point, they floated a bizarre alternative. Instead of a wrestler being behind the voyeuristic footage, they pitched comedian Tom Green as the mastermind. Green was enjoying some mainstream popularity at the time, and the shared G initial seemed like a convenient fit. Russo and Ferrara saw this as a golden opportunity for some cross-promotional buzz. Only problem was, they showed Vince some Tom Green comedy, and Vince did not get it. And maybe we'll give Vince a pass on this one. Tom Green is certainly an acquired taste. As the weeks went on, fans speculated heavily about who was behind the mysterious footage drops. Despite the initial buzz and potential for major revelations or rivalries, the GTV concept quietly fizzled without a satisfying resolution. Number 6. Love Quadrangle? For reasons known only to the darkest corners of Stamford, Connecticut, Vince has long displayed a bizarre obsession with angles where someone's spouse gets seduced, stolen, or publicly humiliated. From having his own wife drugged into a coma while he made out with Trish Stratus, to trying to script himself into a storyline where he fathered Stephanie's baby. Yes, really. McMahon's love for romantic betrayal is weirdly a creative pillar. Back in late 2019, the WWE blessed us with the truly baffling saga of Lana divorcing Rusev on screen and shacking up with Bobby Lashley. Rusev, the poor sap, got to watch his real-life wife make out with another man every Monday night, but this wasn't the first time McMahon had put Rusev through this unique acting exercise. Then, on December 30th of that year, came the infamous wedding segment on Raw. And wow, look at the size of that cake! I must have been planning to share it with everybody in the audience because I can't think of another reason why you'd have a cake that big at a wrestling wedding. Also, this was Lana's second attempt to have some kind of wedding event on Raw. First one didn't turn out so great. Bobby made a questionable fashion choice wearing a tuxedo without sleeves, although in his defense, if I had guns like that, I might be tempted to do the same. And just when the officiant asked if anyone had a reason why the duo shouldn't get joined in the bonds of holy macaroni, we were interrupted by Liv Morgan, which was weird for two reasons. One, she also went with a sleeveless style, well, half of it anyway. And two, she professed her love for someone in the ring. Now, we all assumed it was Lashley, but surprise of surprise, she was not talking about him. The ladies brawled, the cake eventually separated to reveal a Bulgarian brute on the inside. Didn't see that coming. Lana once again got a face full of frosting, as is the rule in any wrestling event where a cake is around, and Vince probably clapped and guffawed like a proud grandpa watching an episode of Jerry Springer. Now, while the Liv Morgan-Lana relationship seemed like it was out of left field, there actually was some foreshadowing. Earlier that evening, a vignette aired featuring Liv Morgan, who had been out of action for a while. However, instead of the bratty George the Animal steel-tongued Liv Morgan, this was a more seductive and sophisticated version of her. She'd say, "Someone once made me feel different, and then they took it away. The old me would have done something impulsive. The new me is more methodical. I strike when I'm ready, and I think I'm ready. Are you?" But just as suddenly as the lesbian love bomb dropped, it disappeared. Instead of building on the potentially groundbreaking idea of a same-sex romance gone wrong, the WWE pivoted to a weirdly vague feud between Liv and Lana, complete with bad matches and no actual follow-through. The romance, forgotten. The betrayal, never really addressed. Storytelling, missing. Presumed dead. So what happened? Well, in an Inside the Ropes interview, Liv said, "I think people today, they want real representation. They want, characters are characters, but they want people that are really maybe experiencing these things to represent these characters. So I feel like in that aspect, maybe didn't go over so well towards some people that felt like Lana's secret lover could have been someone else that was maybe really into women, But then on the other spectrum, this was my re-debut after 8 months off, so people were excited to see me, and they were happy for me. But there was definitely that split with the audience, people that were loving it and people that didn't like it." Rusev would also say that the moment was only meant to score a one-time pop with the audience and was way too controversial to continue. Number 7, Bell End. British people are going to love that. When Lacey Evans first strutted into NXT, her gimmick was basically someone with a vintage pinup aesthetic and throws a mean right hand. Former Marine with a solid backstory and real-life toughness, Evans looked like a star in the making, but her early days were more about style than substance. She had the sassy wave, the old-school attitude, and the wardrobe of a 1950s catalog model, but her in-ring work was still catching up to the character. WWE clearly wanted her to be a big deal, often giving her promo time and building up her persona, but the crowd response was lukewarm at best, like they were being politely asked to care. Despite flashes of potential, Evans' early run at NXT felt more like a dress rehearsal for the main roster than a breakout moment in its own right. Evans was called up to the main roster in early 2019, despite not having a standout moment or real feud in NXT. WWE clearly saw potential in her polished look, military background, and throwback sassy Southern Belle persona, but the rollout was awkward at best. For weeks, she simply walked down the entrance ramp during other people's matches, kind of waved and left. It was less mysterious build and more glitch in the Matrix. When she finally did enter the ring, it was in a high-profile feud with Becky Lynch, who was white hot at the time as the man, fresh off of the first ever women's WrestleMania main event. Problem was, Evans was not ready. Her promos came off forced, her matches lacked fluidity, and being thrown into multiple pay-per-view bouts with the company's top women's champion exposed her greenness. WWE tried to mask it with production, but fans weren't buying what they were selling. Instead of elevating her, the feud made Evans look like she had skipped several rungs of the ladder, and not in a good way. Despite flashes of improvement, her first run fizzled out with little to show for it. In the end, Lacey Evans' debut push felt more like a case study in overexposure and underdevelopment. A reminder that not everyone's ready for the spotlight just because they look the part. In early 2021, Evans would get a renewed push that seemed to portray Ric Flair as her sugar daddy, although with the supposed state of his finances, she might be the one fronting the bills for him. Either way, the whole thing gave us real Anna Nicole vibes. The pairing saw Ric become Lacey's corner pawpaw and eventually turning on his daughter Charlotte to assist Lacey during her matches. It was rumored that this was supposed to lead to Lacey claiming the Raw Women's title from Asuka at that year's Elimination Chamber and then facing Charlotte at WrestleMania. But neither Charlotte or Lacey made it to WrestleMania that year. On the February 15th episode of Monday Night Raw, Lacey refused to tag into a match against Charlotte because she was pregnant. They acted like it was Ric Flair was the daddy and potentially part of an angle, but in real life, Lacey and her husband were actually with child. And Charlotte would miss that year's WrestleMania due to a bout with COVID. You know, it would all work out in the end, though, as Lacey gave birth to her second daughter that October. Charlotte's bout with COVID wasn't too serious, and best of all, Ric Flair wasn't responsible for the well-being of a child. Well, there's our list. Did I leave out any other big storylines that the WWE never finished? If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and figure 4 leg lock that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.